Already?
Heyo.
Heyo. Heyo.
I put the mic a little closer to you because I felt like the last time it was...
You were more on top of it.
Yeah.
You're much more controlled in your...
Yeah, I think it was more because I was trying to stay within frame and you didn't give a crap.
I don't care, man.
You're like...
I don't follow any rules. I don't follow any rules except those of the United States government. For real, though. What's up, dude?
Not much.
What's up there, Boneman?
Not much, bougie. Bougie and the home man here.
Bougie and the Homo sapien. That's pretty good.
I read a article that most people are 2.6 to 2.8% Neanderthal. They have that much Neanderthal DNA in them.
So, of our ancestor DNA, some of that is Neanderthal. I did not hear that, or I did not see that on the...
Interwebs?
On my description.
I don't think it comes up, but that's what, I guess, the people who do like the Human Genome Project, and they've been doing that for Neanderthals too.
Well,
and because they've been trying to figure out how Neanderthals have been...
Are Neanderthals from a different region? Or a certain region, I meant to say.
Yeah, they're from Europe and Asia.
In Asia, okay.
Like
so not Africa?
The steppes, right, yeah.
Shit.
They are a completely different line of hominid.
Character.
So, like, they evolved alongside Homo sapiens. Like, they're not a relative. Or, like, they're not a chain in the link, right?
Wow.
They're their own separate things.
So they're all just out there raping each other. Right?
I guess so.
I don't know about the mating customs of Neanderthals.
Well, apparently... They're close enough to where they could have viable offspring.
Oof. Like a donkey, mule,
right? Like
halvesy configuration.
But that thing can't have kids, right? Like you can have a liger, but a liger is sterile.
Is that how it was, though?
No, they could
just keep on going.
Right. So obviously, wherever the split was, it was close enough to where we could interbreed.
Now, if we have part of that and part of this, they could interbreed.
The thing is, like, I think that's where, like, a lot of Europeans get the broad, like, the big schnoz, because Neanderthal and the brow, right? Because Neanderthals had that because it was more... I remember seeing like something on History Channel before I went completely like Ancient Aliens. Yeah. Ghosts at the first Thanksgiving. Could there be? But anyway, and it was talking about how that's better for cold weather. Like having a bigger nose like that it like circulates the air differently than having like a lot people from the southern hemisphere tend to have those like round button nose kind of things, and those are better for heat.
So like you're talking about like the bridge and everything, like the length and as opposed to a wider, bulbous, type deal. Yeah, that's better for warmer climate, or
I guess
that's
so.
just natural.
I'm just assuming because that's what like. Black people, Asians, they all have that kind of nose, but then...
Right.
Yeah.
You got quite a honker on you there.
Maybe that's why it took my dad so long to get his genealogy thing, because he was really just 100% Neanderthal.
Did he do it?
he finally got it back, and it was like nothing. It was just like, oh, you're Polish or something. You're 100% Polish. See it yet? He didn't show it to us. He didn't show it to us, but he just
keeping it close to the chest.
I guess.
But you haven't had one done yet, right?
No. I think Kelly decided just to have my mom and dad do it and be like, well, we're some combination of that, but she probably has like some weird Southeast Asian gene in it. That's why she looks.
Well, considering we don't
so happy.
Our side of the family is so fragmented, you don't know. So I still had the problem of there's Irish on there, which I know is from my father, and there's English and stuff and Scottish, but
right.
I don't know. It's all too close to where I don't really know, because I think he had some Spanish blood and some whatever from just the interbreeding, we'll call it.
During the Roman Empire?
That's my own. I coined that term, interbreeding. But yeah, it's still kind of hard to tell, so I don't know. I guess my mom has it now, and I have mine. There's got to be, besides Ancestry, I want to do a different one.
There's another one, like Me, 23andMe or something like that.
Channel 23 Me TV.
How many chromosomes do we have? 23?
I don't know, but I know we have one less than some.
That is true.
I've been watching Ralphie May.
Okay.
Still. And we talked about how, like, the later the specials go. Did you get a chance to check it out at all?
No, I was watching Christina P's.
Oh, yeah, I did watch that, Mother Inferior. Yeah. I didn't. I was kind of in and out of the room, though.
I was listening to her on Joe Rogan, so I was like, who is this? Like, because I'm not a huge Tom Segura fan, so, like, I'm not really
hip to who he's banging.
And then she was like, oh, yeah, I was on Road Rules. And then I was like, what? And so I looked her up, and I'm like, holy crap, yeah, I do remember. Because I was like...
She was a contestant?
Yeah, on Road Rules.
Yeah, I remember Real World Road Rules.
Kelly was obsessed with those shows, so we watched them intently and intensely. And so, like, when she said that, I looked her up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I do remember her. And then to see her on...
She must be pretty young.
She was, because she's like 40-something now. But yeah, so I watched that one because I was intrigued. I didn't want to have to relive the disappointment with the recent Ralphie May thing, so I kind of decided not to.
You didn't want to watch, like, it get worse or whatever?
Yeah, I didn't want to be like, ugh.
Well, it gets truer the further back you go. Like, I watched one from 2003. What year was Last Comic Standing? Like 2001 or 2? Would it have been before that, or would it have been like right then?
2001.
It was at the Laugh Factory, recorded for Comedy Central, and it was 2003. And dude, man, fucking ridiculous, off the charts, like way funnier, way more energetic.
Right.
Not way funnier. Like a constant barrage. Like, you know how some guys, they have topics and then, like, they deliver the line and then they kind of regroup. He just, like, he's telling stories the whole time and there's never any, like, terrible segue or anything. He's just, like, fucking constant. He's not waiting for, like, big-ass laughs even though he gets them. Like, the laughs are just, like, after every fucking thing he says. Rightfully so, though. Not like a Pauly Shore type thing. And,
Buddy.
But I think because, alright, so when you look at Ralphie May, if you were to describe him, you would not, the first thing you would say, you wouldn't say white dude or southern dude or blonde dude or whatever. You would say fat dude, right? That would be the first.
I refer to him as massive.
Yeah.
Because when you're bigger than me, like...
And during this era, like, I feel like during that Last Comic Standing, because I've heard him say he was up to 700 pounds. And then, like, everything we've seen him in the last couple years, he's 4 to 5.
Right.
So he's like, I lost the whole fat dude. I'm still a fat dude. But back in the ones back then, it looks like he's closer to 7. Like,
Right.
he's trying to wear, like, a big shirt, and it's still just, like, so misshapen on all the sides and shit. But my point is, because he's a fat dude, like, he's not even a white dude. Like, you would say, this dude is massive. Him and the racial shit, and he's already complaining about politically correct shit in 2003. He's like, you can't say anything anymore, and his whole act is like slanted towards that. He's like, but like hilariously never goes, you know, it's never just crass for the sake of, you know, whatever. But I really miss him because, you know, they're like trying to turn the races against each other, and like I swear to God, he was like able to make fun of everybody equally and awesomely.
I kind of like Russell Peters for that too. He can do that.
I haven't checked out his specials again since I saw him, but yeah, I will see. There you go. I mean,
but I think because he's Indian,
he's detached from the thing.
The whole like
that's the thing. He's something different. He's a halvesy betweensy configuration,
and he's Canadian, so it's like.
Yeah, but then there's
as an American, you kind of just laugh at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at that Canadian.
Yeah, so it's got that thing on it, though. You're always like, oh, this Canadian.
Kelly,
from Tennessee, baby.
Kelly texted me, and she said she thinks she might have been the one with me when we called to vote for Ralphie May.
Oh, okay.
Because she's like, I kind of remember that. And then since you don't remember that...
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I don't remember. I remember, because I don't have a lot of back then memories. I don't know. But no, once you said it's Ralphie May, thanks for voting, that rings a bell to me. Like,
we could have all been there. And we made Kelly call.
You and Kelly, yeah. We could have either all been there, or if you and Kelly were calling at your house, I could have easily been at my house. We used to watch TV on the phone together. I don't really quite remember what we were watching.
This is Ralph May. Thank you, Ralph.
But that could have been it.
That's true.
On the fucking phone for a whole hour, just fucking watching. How the hell do you?
How do we do that?
We
now?
were the original fucking idiots with this shit. Fucking couldn't just watch TV. We had to call each other. Should never gone farther than the walkie-talkie, right? We're humans. Fucked it. So yeah, I think, damn, I'm sad. I'm sad for the times we face and not having fat ass Ralphie May there to fucking.
We got that fan though. And what's funny is I was listening to Bobby Lee's podcast, and they brought up Dat Fan. Like Bobby Lee and Dat Fan have like some kind of beef.
Of course they would. They just have to. Again. Well, they started talking about it when they talk about Ralphie May. Is that how it came up, or was it just like? I feel like
no. I think it was just like completely off topic. Not off topic, but not about Ralphie May at all.
And whenever you say Dat Fan, I picture the retarded guy from America's Got Talent or whatever. The Asian, like Billy Wu or whatever the hell his name was.
William Hung from American Idol.
Billy Wu, William Hung, yes, from American Idol.
She bang. Oh baby.
So just so you know, every time I say Dat Fan and you say Dat Fan, I'm picturing William Hung.
I definitely Googled Dat Fan to remember what he looked like.
I don't remember. He looks like William Hung to me. He also dances around. Sings Ricky Martin. Oh, man. But yeah, man, fuck. I think he was fucking hitting the sauce. He was doing some weird drug shit.
Probably.
I saw Joey Diaz talking about how like he was calling saying he was going to stop taking his medication that like stops embolisms and stuff and blah blah blah, and he was like suicidal and shit. It's always those happy comedians. They're so sad. Those funny fellows.
Isn't that what being a comedian is? Is like they're all
Hanging
messed
yourself
up
at the end of your life. Yes, that's what I was alluding to. That old cliche that comedians are the most.
Is it a cliche
one of the
though?
most fucked up bit of people. Yeah, because anytime you start talking about a group, yeah, it's a cliche.
But do you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast? And when he has every single comedian, they're always talking about how messed up their life is or whatever.
I also feel that people in general have a tendency to think that their life is fucked up and that they've gone through so much more than everyone else and that, they're crazy. I also think that.
That's why I hate Whitney Cummings.
Who? Whitney Cummings?
Yeah.
Because
I feel like every time she's on Joe Rogan, she's talking about how horrible her life was.
There you go. Well, that's my point. Like, I don't know. That's the story now. Everyone's in a fucking pissing match, to be more fucked up and have a harder life than everyone else. I think they definitely all share certain personality traits, like, whatever it is that makes you want to be on stage in front of people and get that transfer of energy back and forth. They all share that.
Right.
And maybe that's related to them all being crazily over extroverted, or on the other end, maybe some of them are super introverted, and then it causes them to do the same thing, But no, I don't think just because they got butt fucked when they were 3 that fucking all comedians are. But you convinced me last week about the Chris Cornell thing, about my slant and just my rock and roll, and how I'm so focused on just the one thing in rock and roll, and just because I know that,
right,
no one else should know that. So, yeah.
We're making progress here on Hodgie and the Boneman.
Thanks, Boneman.
No problem, Bougie. Bougie and the whole man here.
So yeah, you were the final cog in helping me realize how worthless and insignificant I am in the grand scheme of everything in the grand narrative.
We all are.
Mm-hmm. And even rock and roll, then what's the point, right?
And then when you were bringing up Tom Petty, and I'm like, I don't really like any of his stuff, and I remember I do like Free Fallin', but I don't like the Tom Petty version. I like the John Mayer version. Have you ever heard that one?
I have not, no.
It's pretty good.
What was the 80s song you brought up last week that was written by
Bruce Springsteen?
Yeah, that we both like.
Because the Night?
Oh yeah, Because the Night Belongs to Love You. Yeah. I was trying to think of it immediately on the way home, and then I never got to it in the podcast. And who did that?
Patti Smith.
Oh, yeah, okay. That is what you said.
The same person who does Gloria, G-L-O-R-I-A, Gloria. I think I'm doing a dead-on impression.
That's one I can retire. I would be fine with. Never hearing again.
What? What? But I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast with Russell Brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I might have watched the whole thing, maybe.
And
caught parts of it. It
was just funny how Joe Rogan was like completely oblivious to what Russell was saying a lot of the time. Well, like had no idea what Russell Brand is like laying down this crazy philosophical stuff about how we're all just, regardless of everything that's going on in the world, it comes down to we judge each other and we give ourselves worth by how much money we make or how much wealth we accumulate and things like that. And Joe Rogan's like, I don't really think it's like that. And it's like, no, that's exactly what it's like, dude. That's how we live our lives.
Yeah.
And we need to get away from that.
He wasn't soaking up. Well, they're just on two different levels.
That's
but
true.
I still see where Rogan's coming from, because like the way Russell Brand is talking, yes, it's like, okay, that's a utopian way to try to think about things, but it's like, it just doesn't fucking work that way. And the way he was like, everything, which even if it's a true statement, right, then you have to like examine the levels, right? Like if you want to say all corporations or all money is evil, like probably true or whatever. But then you've got a motherfucker like pretty goddamn like he's sitting across from Joe Rogan, who obviously is a very successful motherfucker with a good amount of money,
right,
and all this power through the media and blah blah blah. So, and is that dude like evil? I don't think so.
I think what they weren't seeing eye to eye on was like Russell Brand would say like everything can comes up organically and as a like a something against establishment, but then establishment can take that and commodify it, right? Monetize it, commodify it, and I think that went completely over Rogan's head. Like
he got hung up on a different part of
right.
The
he was
argument,
like, he's like, no, look at Nas. Like Nas does his own thing. It's like, yeah, that's one person, but as a whole, hip hop, like they were talking about hip hop, right? It became and now what is and the Russell general?
Brand is right. Joe Rogan's kind of right too.
They're both kind of right, but like.
I agree with Russell Brand though. That's what they do.
Right.
That's what we've been what I've been talking about. What we've both been talking about. Like, you know, how I feel like just a walking fucking, you know, product now because of what what we experienced as we were growing up influenced the way I fucking presented myself to the world and the way I acted. And it's very fucking cliche now, you know. I mean, it's not anything fucking original.
It's, you know, once. With the adventation of Hot Topic, I think it became...
It was before that. Hot Topic was the culmination.
But I think it was really hard to get, like, a rock and roll black T-shirt. You had to go to the gig, or you had to do something right.
Maybe I'm being too hard on us. There was a little more to it back in the day. You couldn't get music everywhere. You had to go out and seek the music. You had to find the poster. You had to find the T-shirt. We couldn't get T-shirts of the bands we liked. Remember those fucking magazines you would get with like the wallets and keychains and shit with the actual bands we liked? We'd be like, oh my, what? And yeah, they weren't like fucking avant-garde shit, but they weren't on the radio all the time either.
Like, if you really wanted a Seven Dust chain wallet, you had to look for it.
You had to look for it, get the right magazine, order it, wait fucking a month. It wasn't like fucking
hope
Amazon.
It would come.
Because
you don't know
if you send like a money order back then or something,
or cash or check.
Yeah. It's like a PO box in the back of a fucking magazine. And what I thought was funny about that was that, you know, so Russell Brand, and I like what he's doing, you know, and you still got, but like you gotta keep a foot here as well. You gotta stay in the real world as well. But I liked, and it was fucking hilarious for me to watch, Russell Brand try to get Joe Rogan to do something in real life, just like as an event, just like, okay, but we have a bunch of money, let's do a charity or something. That is what he was getting at. Joe Rogan's like, I don't. Being in person is old fashioned. I think he said, or like outdated.
Yeah, he's like, because like Russell Brand was trying to get him to like, why don't you go out in the community and
that's all he wanted,
and teach
martial arts.
Right?
He was just trying to get a real thing done.
And he's like, I can do so much more on this podcast. I can reach so many more people on the podcast.
I thought that was funny. And it really looked to me like Russell Brand on purpose, like kind of knew that this was going to go this way. I feel like he's talked to Joe like this before, but he wanted to do it like a public forum to like publicly shame him, you know? And that's how, I don't know, that's why I thought it was funny. Right. I just saw Rogan like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, don't start signing me up for a bunch of dumbass shit that doesn't mean anything, you know. But I appreciate, I mean, Russell Brand is
the thing is like, okay,
you know,
one person's idea is going to be utopian, right? Everybody has that utopian idea. But if you got a whole bunch of people together, some who see it the way Joe does, some who see the way Russell Brand does, and you got them all together and they actually figured out a solution, a viable solution, it could work. And if people are willing to listen to each other, the problem is people aren't willing to listen to each other. Or somebody who's more where Joe, like, that's the way the conversation was to me. Like, there were a lot of things that Joe just either he didn't understand what Russell Brand was saying because he does talk really fast and with a British accent, or he didn't want to hear what he had to say because he already had his opinion of whatever that was kind of set, and he didn't want to skew from that. I don't know. It was hard to gauge that conversation.
The way Russell Brand presents his ideas, he's just too lofty and up there, and
True.
Like, you know, it's like, and I just feel like, you know,
a simpleton like Joe Rogan.
He talks to smart ass people all the time, has great conversation with them, you know. It was just that, like, I don't know, I don't think he's that interested in like talking about something. I'm no, that's not even what I mean to say.
Or maybe he wasn't prepared.
Everything that Russell Brand would say, it's like, yeah, you can tell he's coming from the right place, but then there would be something in the sentence that would fucking jar me too, and that's what jarred Rogan like every time. Like, he'd be like, well, what if we do this? And then and then Rogan would be like, yeah, but you know,
what if we all rub each other with peanut butter?
Yeah, and it would just be like the one thing. And there is danger in the utopian ideology. There's danger in that, because once you have this fucking idea, oh, I can make everything perfect if we do this, then you start doing all these things to facilitate this happening.
It's like Charmed all over again. Do you remember that?
No.
It was towards the end, I think. Definitely threw you fruit.
Train of thought. Oh, it's dangerous to live that way. So it's nice to talk like that, but then you just got to be at some point. In Brand's defense, he's trying to do something real right there, right? He's like, come on, let's do a fucking function. So, yeah, I think maybe Rogan's really comfortable talking to like Eddie Bravo. Maybe not so much with like someone like Russell Brand, like this fucking flouncy.
He is just like all over the place, and he speaks a mile a minute, you know, like. But he even said that's how he learned how to do comedy. Is like, don't give anybody an inch edgewise. Like, just don't give them that silence so that they can pounce on you. You just keep going, and they never have the chance to. And he was on a bunch of different shows because he's trying to plug his book, right? Same thing. He's just like, just hit you, like, and then you're like, whoa, what?
And I'm sure that's like, and that obviously it suited him well as a comedian, and that's like a great skill to have. However, once you go to switch to try to be like communicator, you're not up on the stage now delivering a one-way monologue. Like, if we're going to try to communicate and talk, then you have to learn to like convey your idea, right, in a way that is digestible for the audience. Yeah. That's something I've learned in the last year, maybe, listening to people, smart people that actually can speak, unlike myself, that are eloquent. And like, when you hear somebody like that can express themselves and relay very complex ideas, but down to,
I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like listening to, I try to listen to some of the conversations he has with like smart people, but to me it's like, it just makes Joe look even dumber. sometimes. Because
Joe's a normal dude. I don't think Joe's probably as smart as us. I mean, I don't think there's anything
I understand
dumb
that.
about him,
But it just like sometimes things. It's I don't know. It just.
Let's get Neil deGrasse Tyson in here and see how we fucking look talking to him.
Oh yeah, I can't.
It's
but
like...
I'm saying like it's hard, it's painful to listen to sometimes. Because it's I don't know. There was Weinstein,
yeah.
Not Harvey Weinstein. He had.
I just pronounced
Eric,
it definitely Weinstein and he's brothers with the professor dude.
Bert.
Right.
And he was talking about music, like theoretically, like on point, knew everything, and I could just I just listen to them. I don't watch them, but I could just tell Joe's just like, what the fuck is this guy?
Well, he's not a musician. I mean,
and then, but then as a communicator, right? You have to somehow comment on that, and then he brings up it's just. So, like, to me, it's like, when you hear things like that, which I'm very knowledgeable about, and, like, I'm totally with this guy. I'm like, yeah, subdominant this, dominant that, tonic this. And he's like, and I can totally understand. And then Joe's like, yeah, but what about Voodoo Child?
So you're saying that your own specific, very specialized brand of knowledge you feel everyone else should know?
No.
And it's
No, but I'm saying that it makes me now reconsider everything I've ever heard because I'm not as knowledgeable about everything else, right? But when I don't understand what this person's talking about because it's on a completely, totally different intellectual level than I am. But Joe says something, I go, yeah, Joe.
So you're just wondering why he didn't ask a question?
No, I'm wondering. It makes me wonder, like, is that, I don't know, like,
I also
on any other different
music divides so much too, though, dude. I mean, how many smart people do you know that know nothing about music?
Take the music out of it.
Okay.
It's about any subject that I have no real knowledge about. But Joe says something after this smart person has said whatever they have, and I go and I say yes, Joe, that makes sense. Joe knows what he's talking about. But if I had know nothing about music, and then I heard Joe say what he did after he's talking about music, and that makes me question, like, should I just get smarter? Should I just read more?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying. You should too.
Because it's like almost like you're being duped into like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but it isn't necessarily right.
Well, when he said, "What about Voodoo Child?" I don't think anyone was like, "Oh man, that makes sense. Good point." You know?
No, but I'm not saying that's exactly what happened. That was just part of the interaction. It was like he said they were talking about something, and then he brought up, "What about Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child?"
And it was just a dumb point, right?
No, it was like he was trying to like seriously be like, look, because they were talking about a computer could never, or AI could never create music, and Eric Weinstein or whatever his name was said no, because music is all based on algorithms, and a computer could do that. Like, regardless of how much you feel like music is creative, it still can be broke down into some sort of algorithm, some sort of mathematical equation that a computer could create something. And Joe was like, but what, like his thing was like, no, there is something innately human about music. They could never be Jimi Hendrix or something like that. And he's like, what about Voodoo Child? And then he's like, well, take a different song. Like, I forgot what he said, but was it Roadhouse? Maybe Roadhouse. He's like, just take the first like 4 measures of Roadhouse and break it down, and it basically plays off of a musical algorithm that musicians use over and over and over and over again. And he was talking about theory and all stuff like that. I think that's where it came out of. And then, so to me, I was like, no, I totally understand that. Yeah, music is an algorithm, and a computer probably could create viable music that we all love.
You also get what he's poking at, though.
I get what Joe is saying, too, but Joe's coming at it from the wrong direction. Joe's saying a computer couldn't create music at all. That's essentially what his argument was. But it's more like
it's how you define. He's obviously comparing.
But then he brought up a good point. He's like, yeah, like Jimi Hendrix playing the Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock. Yes, that's a moment in time that was captured. It's special. That's uniquely human. Mm-hmm. But the Star Spangled Banner, the skeleton.
They're talking about two different things.
The skeleton can be created by a computer.
All he's saying is, yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, honestly, since a computer can create pretty much infinitely, it's going to get lucky at some point. Yeah, a computer can use whatever algorithms it wants to create music. I agree with that. But yeah, then it's a song that's written by a thing. I mean, they're both, you know what he's talking about. You know, Jimi Hendrix is not that. He's a whole idea. He's a person. He was a soul, and that was a creative force, right? So, yeah, I mean, they're both right. You're just picking.
But to me, it's not about Jimi Hendrix as a person, as a soul.
You're just saying Joe Rogan said a computer couldn't do that.
No, I'm saying Jimi Hendrix, a computer could write this music Jimi Hendrix wrote.
Sure, because it can do infinite amount of things, right? Give it a guitar.
But a computer could not necessarily perform the music the way Jimi Hendrix performed it. A computer could have wrote Voodoo Child. But one single performance, that performance is going to be the same every single time, right? There's a variable that you get with a human that you go watch Jimi Hendrix live, Voodoo Child is not going to be played the same way every single time. And that's what's innately human about it, is those tiny variables, whereas a computer can write the piece, but it's going to be performed the same way over and over. Kind of like listening to the song on the CD, right? It's one performance captured at that one time, and you're listening to it over and over and over again. And then when you go watch them live and you go, this is bullshit because it doesn't sound like that one moment that I've now attached myself emotionally to, right? That's all I'm saying. Like, but I feel like they're in two different. They're trying to argue the points, and they made points on either end. But I think it was more like in the middle. There was something more in the middle that they weren't hitting at.
To me, it raises a question of like, and I would say, so if a computer can create a song, right, and like an amazing song, let's just say it can, it can create a composition as worthy as Voodoo Child, right?
I hate that's out. That's what we.
Well, that's my other point, is that music kind of divides a lot of people.
Right.
You can be good in a lot of areas, but a fucking moron in the music realm, and a lot of people seem, there's a big divider there.
Right.
Is a piece of art that's created by an inanimate object as valid as a piece of art created by a soul? I would say no. I would say the point of art is that something came out of a living thing for whatever reason.
I say yes. I think there's maybe after our time, but humans are going to interact with AI on a far more regular basis, and we're going to get to a point where it's at the same level that we are. I mean, look at Watson going on Jeopardy and like killing people, not literally, but figuratively killing people. I think there's going to be a point where they're on the same level, and even it won't matter. That I don't see how, if a computer wrote the 16th, like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, right? If a computer wrote that, why is that any less valid than if a human wrote it?
When I practice and when I'm really doing what I should be doing creatively and writing and playing guitar, and when I'm in the right mode, and this happens to any musician, any artist, when you dedicate all this time to your craft, all of a sudden you'll get like ideas from somewhere, or you'll come up with something that is not you, that was beyond you, probably thought better than anything you could come up with. Either way, it wasn't there before, and all of a sudden it's there. I don't know. In my opinion, yeah, the whole art thing, the whole creative thing, ideas, as far as us being like, we're probably all really connected, you know, subconscious and all that. Who knows where the fuck we're going when we dream type deal. I feel like we may be plucking things out of the air sometimes as opposed to just, you know, writing something on the guitar. And I believe that art is connected to whatever we are. I believe that like a certain song moves me, you know, maybe for reasons unrelated to the algorithm, you know.
But the algorithm isn't about conveying emotion. The algorithm is about notes and rhythms and things like that.
Well, it's just calling it something else, right? I just called the music an algorithm because if a computer can break it down to that, right, then they're the same now at this point. Because when the computer makes it, it's an algorithm.
I'm not saying that when a human creates something, that if a computer creates it, somehow the process is not valid. I think what I'm trying to say is, I understand, like I get what you're saying, but it's not coming from nowhere. It's coming from somewhere, and your brain functions the same way as the computer functions. It's just,
I don't think you can say that. You don't know that. We don't know enough about consciousness to say that a computer works as our brain does. Talk about consciousness, not the electrical impulses in our brain and how they...
I understand that, but there are some studies that say like does your brain control you, or does your brain control your mind, or does your mind control your brain? Because in like a psychological standpoint or sociological standpoint, the mind and the brain are two completely different things. So to me, okay, yeah, your brain functions the same way as a computer functions.
You could probably break it down to any sort of machine, right? Like an engine or whatever. Right. It's got all these...
But the mind is kind of the way an operating system on the computer works, right? The operating system is making decisions based on like this thing right here is now so advanced that it knows what programs to keep at the ready, and what files and programs to shove away because they don't get used as much, that kind of stuff. Like that's very primitive right now. As we go on, I feel like that will become even more on par to what our minds are capable of doing. And once we get to that point, I'm not saying like, yes, 2017, like if a computer made a piece of music, it would probably be trash in our eyes because it won't have the same nuances. But I feel as technology gets better and better and better, and it won't take that much longer, then I think the computer will be on par with what we do. I understand the whole like kind of Avatar.
That's not my argument either. Like I care nothing about on par. I said pretend it's as good. It's the same. But to me,
I'm saying, but I understand where you're coming from. Like this Avatar, like we're one with the earth and we're all on the same vibrations and we're just picking things and like I get that too. Like yeah, like I don't know. I just feel like this idea that because it's a machine making it, like that it will never be as good because there's something missing.
Do you believe that humans have something that
humans make shit music all the time? Like we make.
Do you believe that humans have a soul? Do you believe that there's something in humans different from other things? Do you believe that our consciousness is something special in the universe?
No.
Okay.
there has to.
Well, I do.
I feel like there's other.
And we don't know enough
beings.
about consciousness. Yeah, I mean, throw them all together. Even if, are we different than the fucking shit we see swirling around us apart from the planet, let's just say. Okay?
But who knows what we are? We could just be...
we don't know.
We could just be an algorithm on some...
True that.
Giant computer.
Exactly. But for you to say that just because, like, this thing puts some things away, we don't know how our consciousness works. We don't know how our subconscious works. We don't know why some memories go back here and why we hang on to some and why people have PTSD because of some things and some people go through the same things and don't. We don't know enough about it.
Right. But is that subconscious?
I don't know what you're asking. Is PTSD?
Right.
I don't know enough
or is
about
that
it.
conscious?
I'm just saying that people experience the same things. Something happens to them. If you want to say them, right? And now they're different.
Okay.
So, like, to the thing about, like, 2017 or whatever, like, it was presumed, like, in the 70s or 80s that artificial intelligence, we would be able to create something. I mean, at least, right? The world is made up of objects. We can at least create something that can move throughout the world and orient itself and move around. It wasn't able to do that because it turns out that there are way too many. There's a lot more to navigating through the world than just seeing the objects around.
Have you seen that robot that can do that? I know. Keep making your point. Make your point.
This is a very Russell Brand, Joe Rogan moment. It turned out to be a much harder problem than they predicted.
Right.
Because the world is a lot more than a bunch of objects in it. Navigating through the world is a lot harder than just going, oh, there's a table here. Okay? I realize we've sent things to other planets and stuff, and they move around on their own. And
no, there's one
here. I realize, yeah. If it moved around on Mars, it moved around here, right? We didn't build it over there, did we?
Never mind. Keep making your point. There are actual robots.
It's here.
No, there are actual robots that walk on 2-leg kind of things and can lift 1,000 pounds and stuff.
I've seen them. I know I'm saying they don't exist. I said that the
you
problem
started
turned
your
out to
thing
be
that's
much more, and then
okay. Keep going.
My point about the music is that if a machine creates it, it doesn't have whatever we have, and I believe that you could say, like, you know, animals. I don't know, probably even the world and all that, like trees. I don't know anything about it, but like this thing, I believe that me and you have more than this thing has, whatever that is.
This is an extension of us, though.
Yeah, okay, so is this, and so are the clothes.
Right.
Yeah, fine, it's an extension, but we would still go on living without all these extensions, and we would still, like, you know, there's still something in me and you and everyone that is not a machine. So yeah, we have, like, crazy technology all around us. We're going to be able to do more and more crazy things, but it's just whether or not, and we disagree on it, that's cool. It's just whether or not you believe that, like, something made by whatever this animating force is means more than something. So man creates a computer, right? So then you could say whatever, then it's kind of, but then
it's very godlike. It's man creates the computer in his own image, and then the computer goes on to do something. It's a very fine line, and I totally understand where you're coming from, and I totally get it. It's just such a weird meshed thing. It's like it is kind of like a godlike thing. Like God created man in his own image. We are in the process of creating something in our own image.
Yeah.
And that thing is going to go on to do things
and
the way we were.
It's not, and we, as far as things are looking, right, it's going to be more than an extension in the future, right? I mean, they'll start connecting shit to people and all that. So then there's going to be the issue of, you know,
are you going to get the chip?
How human are you and blah, blah. I mean, no, I wouldn't, but we won't have the choice when that happens, so.
You just live on an island or something. They'll be like,
Yeah,
if you don't want the chip, go to Australia.
Exactly. You can die or you can get the chip. So I guess I'll make that decision then. But no, we want to.
What if the chip gives you free Wi-Fi wherever you go?
Sounds like a very sell your soul to the devil type fucking.
Haven't we already done that though?
The devil won't look like the devil when she comes.
Are we gonna have to cut heads?
Say that.
Are we gonna have to cut heads when the devil comes?
What, a fight? What devil? Where?
Gonna have to battle
Cut
Steve Vai.
heads?
Steve Vai in a guitar battle.
Maybe, you never
For
know.
my soul.
You never know. I started to believe a lot of stupid shit. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that the whole like, yeah, I think people.
That's where I'm getting at. Like that's why I was saying like right now, yeah. If we said, I think they've made a computer program that like created an opera and it was like a robotic art. It was garbage.
Let me ask you this.
But I'm saying like as technology gets better and we become more godlike and will it be more on par and will there be an algorithm for conveying specific emotions? That's what's going to be crazy.
So if a man makes a machine and the machine does everything we do and blah blah blah.
Okay.
So is it us?
But the idea is with AI is that it's actually going to think for itself. It's not
I
just.
don't care about the thinking. Lots of things think.
Okay.
Is it us?
You're saying is it just like?
Does it have what we have? It can do everything we can do. It looks like us. It does art better than us.
Okay.
It shows us emotions.
But should the final product be less valid? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Less valid than a human?
Right.
Yes.
But you just said they create it better and it's better.
Yes, but okay. This machine that looks and acts and it does everything like a human is here, and this human is here. I have the chance to kill one of them. And as a moral thing, not just as I want, like, this thing to lift logs for me. Which one is more important?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I disagree. So that's my question. Yeah, I mean, if you so they build a robot that looks like your daughter and does everything your daughter does, and you're gonna sit there and go, my daughter or this thing.
I might. You never know. You might be in a weird situation. You don't know. You never know.
You don't know. The line between good and evil runs down the heart of every man, right?
I guess. I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't kill a human being. But why? I'm just asking, why is the work, the piece of music, less valid? Simply because it was made by a machine?
So, like, I don't know if a painter does an abstract. Well, maybe this is a bad, but let me follow this. A painter does an abstract painting, and a dolphin does an abstract painting by like someone putting a brush in its mouth, and
right.
Dolphins are smart as fuck, right? But it's like, well, the dolphin isn't painting for the same reason this person painted.
I would be more impressed of the dolphin. It would be like, it's kind of like saying, okay,
maybe valid isn't. Are you like you competency? Like all that, I can agree with that. Yeah, if we're talking about making a cup, yeah, then bam, machines, yeah, got it, bam, it's as good, it's better, it's valid.
Like I feel like if I gave you two pieces of music and you listen to them, and you might say, wow, these are really great, but then if I told you well, a computer made this
got you.
one.
Right.
You're like, now you've just decided that it's...
That's a good point.
It's not.
Like, yeah, you hear something, it moves you. Oh, a computer made it. Oh, never mind. Doesn't move you.
Right.
I got you. That's a good point.
That's all. That's the only thing. I like your argument. It makes total sense to me. To me, it's just like, if we're listening to music and we don't know who's...
Right. No, I got it.
Why all of a sudden now is, oh, it's made by a computer, it doesn't mean as much.
Well, it's just like fucking billions of people like techno, or whatever, right? And can't we just kind of like the difference between a dude with an acoustic and someone putting together a bunch of noises in an arrangement as whatever artistically as they want, it's just kind of like a difference of opinion, right? Some people like those sounds and some people don't like those sounds, That's a great point, though.
I think, and what you're saying is like, just to play devil's advocate, somebody who's...
Which you do.
Right, which I do so well, I guess. If somebody's creating techno, I think that's also something like, when I was growing up, when we were like, somebody who didn't play a physical instrument enraged me, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, how dare you call yourself a musician or whatever if you don't actually play a physical instrument? But I realized that like creating music can be like a computer can be somebody's instrument, because at the end of the day they are creating music, regardless of how maybe we don't see it as they didn't put in the time kind of thing.
There's
like
a difference between an orchestral musician and someone putting together music on a computer.
I understand that, but you still have to have a good ear. You still have to know something about rhythm and something about harmony and melody and things like that in order to put something. I mean, techno is a really bad example because it is mainly rhythmic and there's very little nuance, right?
Yeah, it's pretty formulaic.
But there are people
on.
who do that. Like, what's the dude from 9 Inch Nails?
Algorithm.
What's the guy from Trent Reznor, right? Half that music is written on a computer. And I remember watching, was it Sonic Highways? And Dave Grohl saying like, yeah, I was kind of really apprehensive about letting him in to record with us because, he just does all this crap with computers and things like that. Trent Reznor is like a classically trained pianist. So they're okay.
That's funny.
Boom.
He does the simplest fucking piano lines.
Right. And he's like,
he really fucking.
But Dave Grohl's like, but I get it now. Like, he uses it as an instrument, not as a tool to, like, he's using things to manipulate the sound that you can't do physically.
You and Dave Grohl, though, both were like, but he's a classically trained pianist, though.
To give him some...
He's not... It's still... There's still a difference.
You know why?
There.
You know why? Because of the prejudice that we have in the music community.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
That we have to go, hey, by the way, he is a classically trained pianist, so he has some validity amongst us.
And I agree with you. And I've listened to music that, like a lot of Radiohead is a lot of electronic noises and shit, and I've enjoyed it and I like it. Fuck. Damn it. Yeah, there's something. It still is our prejudice. I still that thing that I have is the difference. Yeah, you can create this good piece of music, but like as a whenever you've dedicated an amount of time to something, you put stock in that. Like if we never fucking felt worth and pride for our accomplishments, then we would just
right, because somebody coming in and taking some loops or something that they found or manipulating that stuff like that, it takes away what we do, right? And like putting all the years that we've put into learning how to play an instrument, all the years that we took learning, different aspects of music theory and the way to compose and all these different things of form and composition. Also, it kind of takes that away because it's like all you need with a push of a button, right? But that's kind of the way everything has been going these days.
And there's also, there's a hatred for competency. There's a lot of people don't like when someone's good at something because that means they put in the time to fucking do it. That is the way everything's going, Oh, well, fuck it. I'm not gonna... There was a time where we probably spent a lot of hours playing guitar and wasted a lot of fucking days and shit, and now, you can just fucking go on your fucking computer and hit a bunch of fucking things. It's different. There's a hatred for competency. There's a hatred for, people striving hard and working hard to do shit.
Right.
There's no strive to have any fucking honor anymore. You ask someone if they pick a machine or their daughter, they say, I don't know. There's just nobody has any standards nowadays,
Now, is it a clone?
Where is Arnold when all this is happening?
Who do you pick? Terminator Arnold or Clone Arnold?
Wait, so like the machine, the Terminator, or the clone? Ooh. I think you'd have to go with the clone because it's just got more pieces. It's got more of the cells than the Terminator does.
True.
It's got a brain, a cloned one, but still a brain.
But you can teach.
Not a 1984 operating system.
But you can teach it, right? You can teach it Spanish. You can teach it to say "hasta la vista," baby.
True. That is true.
What else did he teach him? He taught him a bunch of stuff in that
Hasta la
second.
vista.
But he taught him. Didn't he make him stand on one leg? Or some garbage like that.
I have to do what you tell me. It's like, stand
on one leg. Yeah. Say hasta la vista, baby.
No problemo. Those are the only two I recall.
Did he say no pub?
I think so, yeah.
Did he?
I believe so.
That man made a career on one-liners, didn't he? Like, Mr. Freeze, it's like, cool, stay chill.
He couldn't remember more than one line at a time, man. Had to make him count.
Get down. Get to the chopper. Put the cookie down. My favorite Arnold movie is Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever even seen the whole thing.
Oh man, Phil Hartman, Sinbad.
Definitely am not.
It's pretty. I watch it every Christmas.
I guess I avoid it every Christmas. Saw Tim Allen on Norm Macdonald. Have you watched any of these yet?
It's hard to listen.
Oh.
I listen to him. I don't watch him. It's hard to listen to it because he sounds so like.
You gotta watch Norm Macdonald.
He sounds so like.
You have to see all of his facial expressions.
Because I think I listened to like Margaret Cho.
There's a
and
reason
like Bobby
he has
Lee.
a talk show and not a podcast because you have to watch Norm Macdonald.
But the thing is, I think with the podcast, they do like 15 minutes before they actually go into like the interview or something like that. That I don't think is it on the show?
Oh, you're talking about Norm Macdonald?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about people start the thing 15 minutes before, like Doug Stanhope does, and.
No, it's like he talks with Adam Egget, right? He talks with him for like 15 minutes, and that I can't even get through that. And I'm like trying to fast forward through that so I can get to the actual like interview, and then it's okay. But sometimes I'm just like,
I'll tell Norm he needs to do more inner monologue. I don't understand why Hans doesn't like Norm Macdonald.
It's not that I don't like Norm. Actually, I never really cared. I never really cared for him, even when he was on Weekend Update and stuff like that. Like, I think it's like the mumbly kind of, yeah, see, kind of like old timey kind of the way he talks. I was never like a huge fan of it.
Listen to this at all.
I like other comics besides Jim Gaffigan. Okay,
girl.
just because you don't understand it.
I really don't understand it.
Just because you don't get the human interaction that he's one with the trees and shit, and the trees are speaking to him.
I think I'm right.
There are far better comedians than Jim Gaffigan, but I'm not gonna say that I don't find him funny sometimes.
I think Hans really likes him.
I'd rather watch Fluffy than watch Jim Gaffigan, though.
Fluffy. Yeah. Or I think I saw a new one with Felipe Esparza. Have you seen him yet?
No.
Oh man, I told you because like the first special, he just reminds me of you at like 13. He's got the fucking hair.
Yeah,
and
I thought it was in Spanish, so I was like not gonna watch it because I've watched like Bollywood or something, or I watched. There was a documentary about this one guy who's like, I guess he's friends with Aziz, and it was like a documentary about him finding a wife because with arranged marriages and stuff like that. And ever since I've watched that documentary, I get all these like strange like stand up, like you should watch, and like I go, okay, this might be funny. Like I like Russell Peters, he's Indian. Okay, boom, and then it's like all in Hindi, and I'm like, what the hell? And then like I did get one, and I turned it on, it was all in Spanish. I'm like, I don't want to read subtitle comedy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So when Felipe Esparza came out, I was like, this is probably another one of these, like, subtitle bullshit. So I was like, no, thank you.
Subtitles during stand up. I turned them off. I ruined fucking punchlines and shit. I'm down there. I can't fucking not read it.
But it was also like he's speaking in Spanish, and then so it's like the subtitles so that I understand what the hell's going on. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I think that's what I just assumed it was.
Yeah. Because
I think the titles are in Spanish, like of his.
Maybe he has a Spanish special.
Maybe.
Oh, you're talking about podcast?
No, I'm talking about his specials.
I've seen. There's one on Netflix, and then I saw another one on maybe HBO while I was on the road trip. HBO or Comedy Special Central. He's pretty funny. I don't know if he's as funny as Jim.
Who knows?
But he looks more like you than Jim Gaffigan.
That's probably true.
Superior.
Just in that
regard. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like the way Jim Gaffigan looks either.
There is something weird about how pink he is.
Yeah, he's white.
He's so pale.
He's close to albino.
So have you got your bits together yet?
No, I mean, I'm always writing.
I have some really great stories, but I don't know how to work them into like an actual thing.
Ralphie May, storyteller for sure.
The thing is, like, I have stories from like teaching and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That like the one teacher I used to drive home, he'd be like, "Can I buy those stories off you?" Because they're so ridiculous. Like. That he wishes those were part of his repertoire of teacher stories, But it's like, how do I fit those in? And then, like, also some of them are kind of gross. And it's like, should I even mention that? It's funny to him because he thinks anything's hilarious.
You should mention gross for sure.
Because, like, he has, like, I had a kid masturbate in my class before, like,
oh my God.
Special kid masturbate.
Oh, man.
I've had things, I've had kids, like...
Oh, no.
With, like... walking around with, like... standing at attention kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
And going, like, do you need to go to the bathroom? You want to just go to the bathroom real quick? Because you're walking around... You're, like, walking around class.
Into the waistband, man. Tuck it up. Jesus Christ. Give the kids some good advice.
Or like, you know, the road trip story, like with the Fiatas and stuff like that. Like, how do you fit that stuff into where? Because I remember Kelly said that she when she went to Michigan, like she started at University of Michigan, and like they were doing like a, you know, icebreaker kind of thing, and like I had just told her that story because we had just come back or something like that. I don't know what it was, and she tried to tell the story, and she's like crying, laughing. And the whole room is just like crickets. And she's like, I thought that was kind of funny. And they're like, yeah, I guess you just kind of have to be there or know the people. And it's like, how do you turn those stories into things that are palatable by more people than just your small group?
Just the people who know your family.
Right.
I know, that's so amazing to me when they do tell the stories because, like, I mean, someone like Mitch Hedberg, you know, who is all one-liners and stuff like that. Like, I think that's like fucking amazing and hilarious, and that's almost like just
he's
the
better
best
than
way to
Gaffigan
do it.
for sure.
Are you sure? I don't know. Yeah, Mitch Hedberg. Better than Jim Gaffigan.
Rest in peace, Mitch Hedberg.
Better than any robot comedian. I'm gonna say it right now.
Really? Even the one from South Park that like...
Yep, any of them.
Awkward.
I'm gonna say, even if the jokes are as good.
Have you ever seen that episode?
No.
Where the Germans made a robot, the stand-up comedian robot, and like all it did was like say something and then be like awkward, and everybody would just laugh, and then like it's trying to come up with the perfect joke, and I guess the perfect joke is to kill everybody in the world and then go awkward, and so they're like trying to stop the robot from doing that.
Nice.
That was a pretty old episode too. It's like it's gotten so bad. I mean, the last episode I watched was pretty funny, but like last season I hated it. It was so boring.
You're talking about South Park?
Yeah, and they started doing it where like the last few seasons they've been stringing the episodes,
serializing them.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, I loved it when it was just like one and done. Like Guitar Hero, great. You know,
I've heard them speak about they mix it up. They go
Alien Thanksgiving.
They do long storylines and then they go back to doing one by one. So
they will do like a few episodes at a time. They had done that for a few seasons. Like, okay, at the end of like, I don't know, season 16, 17, 18 or whatever, they were doing like 3-part episodes, right? At the end of their, to be like the culmination.
Sure, yeah.
But like last season, I think even the season before that, they were just stringing the whole season together, and like it was just. But the problem is that they're writing it as it goes along. They're not like, okay, here's our story, here's our 6 episodes, because they only do 6 fucking episodes now. That's ridiculous. But you know, they don't do that. They just like every week they still do it. Like every week we write a new thing, and they're like trying to, and so things don't add up at the end the way they should, and it's kind of infuriating to somebody like me.
So you want them one and done, but then when they're serialized, don't make sense. It bothers you even more. Interesting.
Yeah.
What the fuck? This doesn't make sense. It's serialized. I haven't watched much South Park in my life, but I've been watching season 19, which is all the politically correct stuff, and it's
I don't like that one.
Fucking hilarious.
There's
so
funny parts, but it's still like other, like the Cartman. Does he have the girlfriend at that point?
I don't think so. Okay. Not that I remember.
I think maybe because it starts, and I think the next season 20 is like a continuation of it. It's
I don't think he has a girlfriend.
There's funny parts, like totally. Is season 19 with the member berries?
No, that's the one right after it. That's 20.
Okay.
Member berries is the first episode of season 20.
Yeah. So it's like there are funny parts, but to me, like the story doesn't completely make a whole lot of sense. I get why you love the politically correct, because it is a commentary about that. To me, it's not. I could care less. Like, you know, it's like not a huge issue to me. So like, there are funny things, but it's also kind of like frustrating to me because it's like just let everybody be themselves and let's get on like our lives. Like let everybody just do whatever the fuck.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Like this. Hey.
Oh.
But it's just, like in the show, it's like they make such a big deal about it. I was like, well, if everybody just could do whatever the hell they wanted, then we wouldn't have this problem. And it's like why string that out for 8 episodes or whatever?
Why string that whole issue out?
No, I don't want to get into it.
You don't want to talk, Bone Man?
Not about that. Not about politically correctness. Because I don't care. Let everybody do whatever the hell they want. There.
Indeed.
Done.
I agree.
And now we're done.
Everybody talk about whatever they want. I agree.
Right. But it's just, like, there were things about that I think I've blocked those seasons out of my memory because there's a lot of other seasons that, like, I watched, episodes over and over and over again because I think they're hilarious. But it's like, am I going to watch 8 episodes for, 10 moments that I thought were really funny?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the Elmo? No, that's not. God damn, I can't say. I don't even remember. That's how much I really didn't care for the. And like this last episode, I think any episode with Randy is great, but when it's like subsidiary characters that they're doing, this is guy. I want to stop talking about because I can't remember what episodes are what. Because I'm thinking of like Tweak and Craig. Was that in that?
Yeah, that's in that one.
Yeah, like that's funny. I thought that was funny, but others. Can I name other stuff that was in that?
I'm just kind of like watching you. I liked watching you get so incensed over something you can't remember very well.
I just remember like I didn't like it. That's what I can remember. I didn't like it.
Okay.
But I thought the Tweak and Craig thing was funny.
Yeah, that one actually. I think I was on Pass By last night while I was doing the binge thing. Yeah. Yeah, we need to be able to say whatever we think. As soon as you can't say what you want, you can't think what you want. As long as you are not inciting violence against somebody. We already have things that you can't say, hate speech and all that, and that's good. That's for a reason. We like in Canada, and it'll creep down here. We're now facing issues of compelled speech, where like you are now by law going strongly urged to, everyone can do whatever they want, but that doesn't mean that I have to like use their language or everyone can do what they want, but I don't have to like it or that type of thing, So when when people's ideology then starts putting restrictions on the language that everyone shares, then that's when it becomes a problem. So I don't really, it's not like the politically correct issue is not just about like, being able to be racially crass and shit. There's a lot more to it.
Do you really want your own cis toilet? Is that season?
I don't remember something about a cis toilet, but I would assume it's in there, yeah.
Or because I can't. I get these last two.
So like, it starts. It's like Whole Foods.
Where
my country gone? He's in the second episode. Mr. Garrison. Soto Sopa. All that. The gentrifying. They're all around Kenny's house and stuff. And they get the Whole Foods. Everyone's the bro PC culture. Randy is like the whole season, and he's going to the now sorority fraternity and like hanging with them and blah blah. PC principal.
Oh, okay. This last season was about trolls. That's what it was.
Okay.
Like internet trolls.
The whole season? Wow.
Pretty much, yeah.
I thought they had already done that.
And Kyle's dad is like the biggest internet troll. He like to the point where people are like killing themselves. Now it all makes sense. See, I totally forgot about Soto Sopa. Like those commercials, I thought were funny.
Guy at the old, he's like, I feel like I'm a relic of the past.
And then he creates that other part, right?
Well, he starts getting child labor, and then
that's right.
Just trying to get people to come back. Then they build like lofts around Kenny's house. Like they keep adding to Soda Sopa, but
don't they create another part? Because they abandon Soda Sopa and they go to another thing.
Probably. Yeah, but what did you think?
I don't know. They're
bringing up the politically correct issue is going to spur in this whole thing. I think that's part of the problem. Yeah, it's like you're afraid to talk about something. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because people other than me get really upset all the time. True. It's very scary to talk about this sort of stuff. So I know why. And yeah, I get it. But
I just feel like there shouldn't be an issue.
I don't know when you say there shouldn't be an issue, that's just too vague of a thing. You would have to explain what you think the issue is.
Like, you don't need to be politically, there shouldn't be political.
Okay. So here's the thing. Who decides that? This is the problem. Because someone like Kelly would decide that the line is somewhere that I wouldn't decide. And someone like you would decide the line somewhere that neither of us would decide. So that's where the problem comes in, is that someone gets to say, this is unacceptable. And it's like a person, as valid as any other person, says, you can't do this. This is unacceptable. You can't say this. And that's where the problem comes in, is that, like I said, we already have perfect laws, great laws about what you can and can't say, blah, blah, can't say. But that's the problem, is someone gets to go, oh, no, you think that? You're racist. You think that you're transphobic. You think that,
Right. No, I understand.
So it's all about, the laws are already in place. Now everyone wants to bring the line somewhere where now we're not able to fucking speak, or it's not
the problem. The problem is that we're all misinformed. We are all uneducated, and we are just making decisions based on tiny bits of knowledge that we deem correct.
Fits our narrative.
That too. Because the first week of school is just teachers, right?
Oh, okay.
And we're just in meetings and all this stuff like that. And the topic of transgender and all this stuff came up. And the Spanish teacher said, okay, we had a student last year or whatever who decided that they were going to use both the female and male
pronoun
for everything.
Okay.
Because in Romance languages, cheese, right, is feminine, right? Everything is deemed either male or female. And there was a teacher who was obviously on the more liberal side and was like, they don't have terms for transgender in Spanish? That doesn't make any sense. And then I'm like, that you just totally missed the point. It's not about whether or not there are terms for transgender or not. She's talking about the fact that this person is now, because the language is the way it is, and it is binary, the language is binary, and the sun is masculine and the moon is feminine, and it's el sol and la luna. So, but they're putting L/la for everything. How do you grade that? Right? It's like, right. It's not the language is not correct.
Language,
right? And the other person's just like, and you could see that the person is getting upset. Like, you should be more tolerant of these things. Like, and I get it when you sound backwards when a teacher goes, so what do I refer to it as? Do I call it an it? And you go, just say, refer them to their last name or this or that. You can call them they or whatever they want, ask them. Like, usually they have some weird name that they want to be called anyway. So you just refer to them by that name. Like, what are you supposed to do? You can, there are ways to do it. Like, we have transgender kids. You just got to deal with it, like, accept that they have made that choice, and as long as they're not. The thing I think what some of the teachers are like, they don't want to be attacked, right? That's the thing. You don't want to be attacked and be called a transphobe or a homophobe because you're using the pronoun you think
the normal pronoun,
right?
That
like if I see
that we've always used. These, you can be whatever you want. Why do they get to change the language though? Like now
it's like, but that's the problem. It's like on your roster you see Mary Jane or Mary Jane Johnson, and you go Mary Jane Johnson, and they get upset with you. It's
that's
like
just That's too
my
bad.
name's Alex.
That's too bad. Yeah.
It's like then you need to
Change it. Right?
You need to go through the things, and then, but then it becomes this huge thing. Like for somebody who's gay, they're not necessarily out, right? So you have to treat the trans person the same way. Like you wouldn't out. Like if somebody came to you and they're like, "Okay, Mr. Kruger, my parents don't know, but I'm gay." At report card pickup, I'm not going to be like, "Hey, by the way, did you know your son's gay?" You know, the same thing. It's like there's this confidentiality kind of thing. Like you wouldn't be like, "Hey, by the way, your daughter wants me to call her Alex all the time. Do you know anything about that?" You know, like that kind of thing. You have to like treat it the same way. But I also don't like that if I look at you and you look like a dude and I refer to you as he, what gives you the right to get mad at me if I don't know your backstory?
Agreed. Yep.
That's where it should stop. Mm-hmm. Like you shouldn't get mad at a stranger if we're using terms that we've always used, like you said, and you look a certain way, and in my brain that is
there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that.
The problem is, do we get rid of pronouns altogether?
No, because we've always, and they work fine. See, that's the problem. Is like, people encounter one problem and want to fucking throw the whole system away. Right. That's not.
But then it's also like Z
English, Zer and Z. These are made up things, and these are ideologues. These are people with a certain agenda. These are transgender. They think they're getting rights and activism and all that. No. It's not. I'm fine with the kid being whatever they want to be.
Right.
But no, you don't get to put La in El Luna. You know, it just doesn't make any. It's just not the language.
Right.
And English, as a language, we've already. This is a long-standing tradition, and it's got, you just don't get to come in and add. That's not how language changes. It changes organically. It changes over time. Shit gets introduced, but you don't get to go, well, now there's Z and Zer. I get to call myself whatever I want. Put this in the workbook. Yep, there's male, female, transgender, Z, Zer. Let me name the other 73 pronouns. It's narcissism. It's fucking, everyone's so fucking important that they're their own unique little fucking thing, right? Everyone, as long as you're not hurting someone else, right, make your own choices, dress the way you want. Right. But you don't have the right to get mad at me for using the language we've all learned. Right. I do not have to call you by a made-up name unless I want to. If you seem like a nice person, I want to talk to you. And probably if you come up to me and you get mad at me for me calling you the wrong pronoun, that's probably the end of the conversation anyway. I don't need to continue to have a conversation with you because you're just not the type of person I want to deal with. Not because you're transgender, because you think you have the right to just out of nowhere get mad at me and police my language. There's no reason we should be talking, right? These are ideas being pushed by someone, by the culture collectively, maybe not even the culture, but some aspects, maybe, I don't know what you would want to call it, but you could media is very into like pushing the whole thing of, I know you have lines too. It's just where you say, let everyone do what they want. That's where it gets, you can't just say that. And even though, we mean it, right? And that's me and you know what we mean by that, but there are lines that I believe in order for any culture to fucking
The thing is, yeah, let everybody do what they want, but also don't get booty hurt that you get misconstrued.
Everyone, yeah.
You know, like
the world
when I
has
was
to
in high
bow
school and
to
I
them.
had long hair, I remember getting off the bus with my friends who also had long hair, and the bus driver going, "Have a nice day, ma'am."
Exactly. 'Cause
And
you had
looking at
long
me
hair.
and then going, "Oh, you're a dude." That might have been a dude too. and it's like, it's fine. Like,
Right.
if you're a guy and you grow your hair out long, there are probably going to be some times where if they're looking from the back of you, they might think you're a lady. It's just going to happen.
It's just gonna happen.
And you just got to brush it off, you know? Like, things happen. People make mistakes.
Right. But oh man. But if you make a mistake, that gives them the chance to fucking claim they've been discriminated against. And like how I said earlier with comedians, where people in general want to have the biggest cross to
You might
bear.
like the new season of South Park because they're really coming at that whole, like, everybody's a victim kind of thing, and they're making fun of the 23andMe, the Ancestry.com stuff, where, like, Randy's it was about Columbus Day and how, you know, Columbus Day is, you know, being, there's lots of protests about it, which I totally understand. You know, he didn't actually discover America, that kind of stuff.
Duh. How base are we, dude? Jesus fuck. I don't know if you guys know this. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. There were Native Americans here. If anyone didn't fucking know that, you're a fucking moron.
No, meaning he didn't even come to
That's how
America,
everyone fucking acts, though. Yeah, I know, right? He's
didn't-
down on the
right.
islands, but it's
And
just...
he raped and pillaged, like, his people
I
raped
don't
and
know if
pillaged
you know
people.
this. Christopher Columbus was a piece of shit. No, really? Oh,
But
Jesus.
let's also do some retrospective. Everybody was a piece of shit back then. But anyway, so I get it, right? So I get that whole part. But the funny thing about the South Park episode was, like, they're doing this 23andMe, and it's like how white people are like, I found out I'm 16%, you know, Cherokee, or I'm, you know, this much this and this much that. So, you know, I found out that I'm 23% oppressed people, like, and I'm okay, like, because I'm now part of this group of oppressed people.
Exactly.
And so Randy, who apparently, like, loved Christopher Columbus and, like, dressed as Christopher Columbus on their wedding day and had all this Christopher Columbus stuff, is like, he throws a party. He then pays a Native American guy like $100, makes out with him, hoping that the swab will then have this Native American's DNA.
God. That's hilarious.
But then they find out, so it doesn't work. But they're like, they find something different in his DNA, and they want to do extra tests. And he's like trying to manipulate it so that he can have this. Because they're like, well, we found out that you're basically just like any British. Your ancestry is basically, your DNA ancestry is basically just what a normal British person would be. And he's like, fuck. But then they're like, but we found out that you have 2.8% Neanderthal DNA. And I thought it was funny that I had read that, article,
yeah.
and I had read that article, and then, like, the next few days later, South Park's making this episode with it. And it's like, and then he's like, wait, you're saying that the Neanderthals were oppressed by Homo sapiens? And they're like, yes. And he's like, so he goes around and he's like, ah, fuck you. You know?
Yeah, for real.
But it's, you know, it's just crazy how...
Well, that's funny though, right? Because
That's the way our culture is sort of shifted, is that there's more power. I guess there's power in being oppressed now, because now you can just flatly accuse, you know, my people were oppressed.
And there's a sleight of hand. There's a game going on where they're equating the shit going on now with the 60s. That's the whole game. It's like, oh, we are noble. This is a continuation. That shit died a long time ago. None of those people are around.
Right.
Any of those people made money or they dropped out into communes. There's no similarity there. There's no connection between the two. But yeah, that's the game. That's the game, is that everyone knows what happened back then, and we're just going to keep on fucking going. But that's hilarious, right? Because anyone looks at me, wants to call me white dude, I'm 3% African and 14% Native American. I have a minority inside of me. That must be the most fucking culturally oppressed person in the world, right? I mean, inside of a white dude. That's what you're looking for, right? The most culturally oppressed person.
You gotta start looking like me, so that you don't have to, you can blend in.
Yeah.
Blend into the oppression.
Yep. I got it, right?
You gotta start growing your hair out.
So 17%, 20%, 40%. At what point am I not a white dude? At what point is it okay to act racist towards me based on my fucking ethnicities? 20%? 15%? It's so fucking dumb. Everyone wandering around going, you're this, you're that. And then, yeah, fucking do your fucking ancestry thing. You'll find out, oh shit.
What I don't like about the commercials is that it's like, even the white guy is like, forever I thought I was British, but now I found out I'm German. And now he's putting on lederhosen and touting a German flag. It's like, no, that's not how it works. That's not your culture. Just because people in your family lived somewhere thousands of years ago or 100 years ago or whatever it was, does not mean, like, or the black lady, like, I found out that I'm 70% West African. No shit. But no offense, but we all kind of, if you studied slave trade in U.S. history, you know that
came from the west fucking side,
right? West Africa. But anyway,
closer.
And now she's wearing kente cloth and all stuff like it. That's not how it works. Like, you can't. That is just as much cultural appropriation as anything else. But that's a touchy subject too.
It's not touchy.
But you get what I'm saying. Like,
around touchy people, I disagree. I don't think cultural appropriation exists, except when, like, if there's some sort of crazy company somehow actually commodifying the essence of a fucking tribe. But it's how people have always coexisted. You come into contact with another culture. If you the problem is now is that, like, we have this ideology of what culture is, but it's such a antiquated ideology. Culture is old, though. That's the thing. So culture is the foundation. It's where you come from. It's what's given us all this. Of course it's old. That's why it's there.
But our culture is changing, and you have access to other parts of the world sitting in your living room.
Cultures are always changing, but there is a foundation there. You can add stuff to it, but the reason we are here in this format is because of the foundation that's been laid. Yeah, there's going to be, like, changes. I mean, that's how time
But that's
moves.
what I'm saying, like...
But the thing is, you don't scrap the whole thing.
No,
you
the
don't
lines
just fucking
are
say fuck
blurred
it.
now.
You don't say fuck it and just, oh, well, we do anything now. And you can't do that without losing the civilization. Because if you take out the base, there's going to be something new, right? Now, if you think you want something new, that's an interesting idea. I'm thankful for everything we have here. I'm thankful for our culture. I think our culture is better than some other cultures because
I understand. But what I'm saying is that because of the internet,
the old cultures, you have to integrate that into.
Because of the internet, you have access to different parts of the world and the way they function, the much more readily, right? So you can be influenced by other cultures, and it isn't necessarily cultural appropriation. I forgot the point I was going to make.
Well, I would ask, give me an example.
Like, you're born in China, and you have access to the internet for the first time, or you have access to, like, physical music, and it happens to be gangster rap from 1992, right? It's The Chronic, and now that becomes it speaks to you on another level, and so now you dress like
human level.
You dress like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and you write hip hop music. You write gangster rap music. Is that? I don't feel like that is somebody taking somebody's culture, and even though they might profit from it, you know, in China they might become this huge rap star or whatever. Are they really? To me, there's with cultural appropriation, it's sort of like there's also this idea that you're keeping those people who originated the idea or whatever down for your success.
Well, that's the impression I get as well, and that's why I.
So when people get really upset that there's a Mexican restaurant owned by a white guy that's really popular, and people get upset and say it's like.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's not true. That's why I don't believe it exists. Just for all the reasons you said. I mean, even as we're working this out, as we're speaking it out, you're coming to like these problems of like, oh yeah, but they're not taking anything away from 1990s
or like
subculture.
Jeremy Lin, he's a Chinese basketball player in the NBA.
Very tall man.
No, he's
not
he's not Yao Ming. He's
right,
definitely like a normal sized guy.
Okay.
Got dreadlocks this year, and people are completely dogging him for it. Like, you know, lots of people. But I think he did an interview with somebody, and he said like, yeah, he talked with a lot of people before doing it. You know, before he did it, to see if it was quote unquote cultural appropriation.
It's so short-sighted too. Like how much time are we talking about? Are you talking about 10 years, 1 year, 1 month? Are you talking about 100 years? Like it's fucking nonsense.
The idea that the way people style their hair or dress or anything
that's racist in itself
as being cultural, you know, like as me taking your culture is because if we go far enough back, I'm sure nobody washed their fucking hair.
We all had fucking dreads. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't believe it exists again. Because what time period you look at? The time period they're looking at is whenever white people weren't like that, and now they eat fucking tortillas. You know, that's their culture appropriation. And this white tortilla place in fucking Wrigleyville makes more money than the Mexican fucking place in fucking Bridgeport or whatever the fuck. It's short-sighted. Right. I don't believe it. I think cultural appropriation, like many other things, is something that someone can just fucking yell at you in order to discount your fucking opinion, your view, you as your worth as a human being, which is hilarious. You know, it's all about. Yeah, I mean, and my problem with it, let's say, which I don't agree, that the Asian dude, I don't know what he is, was wrong for having dreadlocks. Like, let's say that's a real thing.
Okay.
Who has the right to tell him that?
Right.
All these people with their fucking self-righteousness,
the thing
thinking
is,
they're going to they know better. It's sickening.
So,
to me,
is culture I feel like culture should be more of a environment and less of like a historical, you know, my family was from this place, so I like there are going to be little aspects of that because you obviously, like, if you came from Ireland and you immigrated to America, there's going to be certain things that you do that are instinctly Irish, I guess we could say, right?
You come from a different culture, you're going to bring it with you.
When you come to Chicago has its own culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's such a weird thing. It just depends
how far you want to look, but I think you have to realize that this does really rest on history. Like, it'd be nice to say we could just start at the 1950s. We'll start after World War II and just kind of start over, but it really doesn't, though. It really doesn't. I mean, think about how many people it would actually take in our line to get pretty far back.
But what do you do that can be associated with anything ethnically cultural?
Ethnically how? So you mean Irish, Native American, whatever I am?
Right.
I don't know. I like Irish tea better than the other teas. I'm very fond of potatoes.
But South Americans eat a lot of potatoes too.
I'm an alcoholic, which would fall under Native American drunk or Native American Irish,
Okay.
lineage.
See, to me, it's like I don't see anything that I do, or any aspect of my life, as ethnically, culturally significant.
You make Polish sausage with your aunt.
But making sausage isn't necessarily a Polish thing.
But what are you making?
Okay, so...
Yeah, you could say making sausages in itself is not. But if I'm making an Italian sausage or I'm making a Polish, they're different cultures. It's a cultural thing. It comes from your past.
But it's like...
family lineage.
But the thing is, like, because I don't put fennel in my sausage doesn't mean that it's any different than... It's still the same cut of meat. It's still the same process. It's just that
it's just the seasonings and the way it's made and the people who make it. That's what makes it Polish, right? It's kind of what.
But to me, to me, it's not.
Well, I mean, we're also Americans. We are not from Ireland. We are not from Poland. We're Americans. So, but I would.
But that
say,
one thing, like
well, who
one
cares?
thing.
Does it have to be 10? I mean, that's one thing that you got. Yeah, and I feel like, many of the values that your parents have and have instilled in you, that came from their parents and blah blah blah, like came from the culture they were raised in. Much of it was church, and a lot of it was.
And church is
not family,
is not necessarily ethnically, like Catholicism, is not ethnically
Polish.
Polish.
Not to a certain thing, but. There's a Polish Catholic church. There's a Roman Catholic church over here, and all the Italians go there. And there's a Roman Catholic church over here, and all the Irish go there. That's still how it works anyway.
It's how it works, but
that's just how the people will group up.
But I'm sure if you were Irish and you went to a Polish Catholic church, you'd be okay. Right.
The thing is, though, the religion is part of the structure. It's part of the historical basis for this culture. Not all cultures believe in good and evil like we do. They do not believe.
Yeah, I understand. I guess because, like, for our mom's side, what generation are they? Born in America? Like, pretty long, right? And
we're so fragmented, right? Do we know? I mean, and
that's
part
true.
of it too. I mean,
but like
on
my dad's side, I'm like, I don't know, third or something. So I'm so far removed from anything ethnic besides making Polish sausage and eating pierogies one day a year. I did. I remember like going, we would celebrate with my dad's family on Christmas Eve, and I'd be like, I guess that's a Polish tradition, and then like I knew Polish kids from like CCD and stuff, and they'd be like, yeah, that's kind of a Polish tradition, but the real Polish tradition is you don't eat meat, you eat like fish and stuff like that. But we don't do that. We eat Polish sausage and beef and all stuff. And then I realized, I started teaching, right? And I'm teaching Mexican kids. And they talk about how, Christmas Eve is more important to Mexicans. And then I start making the connections. It's like, no, it's not. It's a Catholic thing. We stay up all night. We have a meal. We go to midnight mass. We celebrate the birth of Jesus, and then Christmas is just kind of a day to recover from that, right? And so, to me, it was like, you could say it's Mexican, or you could say it's Polish, but it's really a shared
culture.
A shared culture through the religion. And then because we're so I'm so far removed from it that I don't associate myself with any of that stuff. So it's even weirder for me to talk about cultural appropriation or this or that, because to me it's like I don't have any of that.
It's almost as if no one does. It's almost
I think that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like we don't, like, our culture is money, which brought me back to Russell Brand. It's like,
hold on real quick, and that'll show you right there. They're not saying you fucking look at your culture, you're saying another culture. They're going, look, you're white. you're white, and that thing is not white. That's cultural appropriation. Like, it's never like, they don't even ask you what your culture might be. Polish, white is now just fucking white.
That's true.
It's made...
But I think also, like, the problem is that there's a group of white people, very
rich people,
very
rich,
very
people.
waspy people. Yeah, there are rich people of all races and
white
creeds.
means Anglo-Saxons. Are you talking about English people? Are you talking about Polacks? Are you talking about Germans? Are you talking about
wasps
the Irish?
are white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, right? So
English.
Like, think of Martha Stewart.
German.
Like, whenever I think of when I think of white people, I don't even think about you as white people. But like, I definitely don't look at myself and like. I remember like hanging out with your friends. Like one time and going, holy shit, these are fucking white people, and like feeling like I do not fit with this group of white people, and it was like very like the Hamptons kind of Donald Trump, Martha Stewart,
rich people,
rich white America, right? Like I don't associate myself with that because
you're not rich,
but I also don't look like those people, right?
It's dangerous.
But that's the thing. It's like I don't. So that's the mindset they have, right? I don't look like that, so I am not that.
And everyone who looks like that is that way.
Right.
It's fucking so dangerous.
Right.
I would ask you, since you're on this, like, continue to examine this cultural appropriation idea, because the fact that we pretty much talked about it and neither of us, I'm not on board with it. I don't believe it exists. You've almost talked your way around it. I would say stop bringing it up as if it's an actual real thing, because that just gives it fucking power.
Well, I don't ever talk about it.
Oh no, for real. I'm just saying, in the future, right. I would, because now when I
hear it, it always makes me think like, what? It's so foreign to me. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Because it's illogical. It's made by people. It's a power game. It's a fucking, we can use this against you. It's all about collective guilt. Anytime you bring collective guilt into something, I'm guilty for something that people that had the same shade as me fucking did. The level of analysis that matters is the individual.
Right. I mean, if you're South African, you should feel shame. But...
it's just there. A lot of people call it a lot of shit. It's just bringing racism back.
True.
It's like, look at that person. They look like that. They're part of that group. They believe that.
I think also the teacher I always drove to school.
Drave, I believe, is the.
I drove to school. He's a sociology teacher, so it's really fun to have conversations with him about, because the first like half of his class is race is a social construct, right? We are all the same. We are all one race. Just because you have more melanin than this person doesn't mean that you're actually different. And actually, he would tell me like, black people have every gene. They can have blue eyes. They can have these things, blonde hair. If they have all those genes in them. There's nothing, unique about, people who have pale skin and red hair and things like that.
We all have the same genes. We're all a different collection.
And I guess there's more. I guess there's more. Though. Right, but we all
the different combinations.
Right.
But there's one big bag we get to grab from.
Right. So, but then the second half of his class is, okay, well, yes, we live in the Matrix, right? And how do we deal with the fact that we live in the Matrix? Like, his whole thing is the Matrix. Like, he teaches his class from that, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to take the red pill or the blue pill kind of thing? And then it's like, okay, we live in the Matrix, so now we have to deal with all this bullshit because we've created these societal hierarchies and all these things like that over the course of thousands of years based on these things. And he even said, I think race doesn't even come up until like the late 1800s. Like race isn't even a distinction until like well early into our, or late into our existence, right? Like we haven't had a classification system until a certain point.
Well,
in
because
time.
I think they just called them the Moors, or they were just
Right.
different tribes.
That's true.
They weren't like, oh, this 16 tribes we've encountered, they were all black, we're going to call them this. That's the
Right.
only reason.
Probably.
It wasn't like people weren't noticing that
I understand that, but it's
people were so not socially fucking engineered that they wouldn't even see different colors.
no, they definitely saw the different colors, just that they didn't classify it. And without the I mean, obviously there were like
it was a different level of classification.
Right.
That's the other fucked up thing about all this dumb shit. Take it race, or then we get down to man, then we get down woman, fucking sexual preference, like fucking hair color, level of hairiness, fucking how big your nipples are. Like you can keep on dividing, and that's all this propaganda is doing.
Well,
I do
divide
not
and
believe
conquer,
in
right?
cultural appropriation, exactly. And I swear to God, I believe that near the end of the 90s, 2000s, we were kids. Fucking racism was an old thing, and none of us were truly fucking racist, and none of us are now. As far as like nothing's really fucking changed since then. But someone's convinced someone else that there's a whole bunch of fucking racism going on at us and below.
It's not racism. It's I think it's more of a class war. You know, like
They've changed it. So identity politics has changed from worker and the ruler to now it's not worker and ruler, it's not rich and poor. Now they're dividing by white, black, Indian, Muslim, fucking Christian, whatever fucking way they can do.
wasn't that one of the reasons why with voting, I felt like I saw something or read something where like they realized that in the South or somewhere that poor white people were siding with black people because they were also poor.
Duh.
Right?
It's the more defining thing.
What they decided to do was to create this separation and be like this idea that even though you were poor,
This
you
guy's got way more advantages than you do being poor. It's a sleight of hand.
Well, it was more to separate black poor and white poor, right?
Exactly.
To separate the poor, and also to like say, okay, white people at some point you can do this, and there might have been other systems put in place so that there is an illusion, but there are still so many disadvantaged people of all races that's the problem.
That's all it is. This identity politics shit is just them, and they've changed it from rich to poor to white, versus everyone else. And, white people are evil, and it's just collective guilt. It's fucking sickening. It's racism. It's fucking ridiculous. That's why comedians have noticed. That's why journalists have noticed. That's why professors have noticed that something is far awry here. So, on my part... Okay, wow, 2 hours again today. Jesus Christ. On my part, I think that, if you have an opinion that differs from the said, fuck it, well, this is okay to say, it really needs to be said. So, you didn't want to talk about the PC thing, but we should talk about it. I mean, you can talk about anything, obviously, right? Fucking, we're all good. Yeah. But it needs to be fucking said because everyone's too fucking scared to say it. I fucking have nothing to lose. I'm very fucking low on the totem pole, alright? So there's not much I'm risking here. But it needs to be fucking said.
Sure.
It's just fucking racism. You're luckier than me, right? Look at you. You're some sort of, I don't know if he's fucking Mexican or Greek or Muslim.
But
some sort of Arab. I don't know what he is.
It gets annoying though. Like there are days where I'm like, I wish I just looked like a normal white guy or something, like, because...
Or that you were super Mexican looking.
Or super Mexican, right? Because it's always like...
Give me one or the other.
Because I feel like the first question is always like, what are you?
What are you? Are you mixed?
Like, your name's Hans, but you look like a Juan. Or like John Stamos' fat little brother.
Or like a Yanni.
Yeah.
You look like a Yanni or a Juan. Not so much a Hans.
Right, so they're always, are you Asian?
Except
Are you
for your
this?
nice
Or
German beak there. Polish.
But yeah, it's like, you know. But maybe if we all did just, nobody could tell what you were, it'd be better.
Well, see, when we were
all
little,
need to start getting
when
with
we were
each
little,
other.
they taught us that it didn't matter what color our skin was.
True.
That it just mattered what the person thought. And then somewhere in the last 30 years, that's not the fucking case.
But there has always been that underlying, like when you take a standardized test and it's like the race.
How are we going to fix it,
that.
though, unless we come at it from that? See, I'm going to say everyone is biologically different. Like we said, we all come from the fucking grab bag, but everyone gets certain skills and different features. Some are better than others. Maybe not features, but traits, skills, fucking whatever, right? We're all different. Some are better than others in certain facets. You know what I mean?
Right.
I still believe, we're all worth something.
Well,
The fact that,
don't throw everybody.
not everyone. What about white, rich men with big eyebrows? But see, that's what they used to tell us. It was like, all right, yeah, there has been a lot of fucked up shit. But you know what? We're all fucking humans. Fucking, this is the way it should be. I mean, movie after fucking movie, it was very clear. When the old dude in your family would say something racist and weird, anyone under 40 would be like, oh, fuck,
Right.
It's a regression. It's a fucking regression. We all are different, but to blame any of your ills, to think that anyone has an easy time of it besides maybe the really rich motherfuckers, and I'm sure they've paid for fucking plenty in fucking soul weight and fucking, I wouldn't want it. Fuck them. But this shit's, it's sad, man. It's fucking sad. I just don't fucking get it. And I don't get how.
That's why I feel like the quicker we come to the realization that, like what Russell Brand was saying, is that like to me that's what it was saying. It's like our culture, and we all have something similar, and we're all striving for the same thing. And the problem is that we value a human not by what they do, but by how much they produce monetarily. If you're a cog in the machine, how do you perform? What's your performance? That kind of thing. Your value is how much wealth you've accumulated, that kind of thing. And that we have, once we agree that that's really what we're all focused on, because at the end of the day, it's not black or white, it's not Muslim or Christian, they have things that I want. I personally don't feel like I am contributing to society the way I'm supposed to, because society has told me that I need to be making X amount of money every year. I need to have, a big house, 5 cars, all this monetary wealth, all this physical wealth. Once we figure that out, and I think, and we realize that, and we kind of say to ourselves, you know what? Yeah, that's true. We are doing that. Maybe we can find a solution to it.
Well,
and not worry ourselves with all this other garbage.
Okay. If everyone had what they needed,
I think people would be a lot happier.
But it wouldn't solve.
What problem?
Like, if you give a king and he has everything he wants, he have every broad he can fuck, every piece of cake he can eat, right? What does he do still? Like, it's human nature it's human nature, and you can't give everyone the same thing. It didn't work in communism. It doesn't fucking work. You take away the spark that makes us human, maybe makes us divine. The option for me to do more than you do. The option for me to work harder.
That can still exist. Even if...
I'm just saying, in regards to like trying to... So you were saying about wealth. Okay, right.
The idea that like...
Well, my point was not everyone thinks that way because I don't think that way. So like the culture, right? But the thing to remember about culture is that it's old, it's giving us everything we need, but it is outdated. That's the important thing to remember. So who Russell Peters cares about how much money you make? He's making a grand statement about, maybe the culture, but do you really think that way? Do I think that way? Do I think of my worth on this earth as what I have in my bank account right now?
Maybe not consciously, but I definitely am like, just to function, you need money.
Yeah,
right?
But we're not talking about that though.
It's the same, because now I have to devote my lot more time of my life to that aspect of living, where I could, if I didn't have to worry about that, I could devote my time to creating music or doing comedy or doing whatever I wanted to do. I wouldn't have to necessarily put forth effort into
this system
accumulating
gives us
wealth.
The most amount of free time to do whatever you want. This system, if we were living without this and you were farming 16 hours a day from fucking dusk till dawn,
no, I understand
you'd really
that.
have no fucking
no, I
time
understand
to
that.
do anything.
But the idea is that like we're at a point in our society that we don't need manual labor to do 80% of the things that we have manual labor do. And if you took those people out and you said, like, look, you have this opportunity to do something, I think something greater than what you think you're capable of, I would say a lot of those people would rise to the occasion. When you're never given the opportunity to do the things that you want to do because you are forced to do things that you have to do in order to survive, we're at a point in our...
People only want to do what they have to do. You're giving people a lot of fucking credit to think that once they don't have to work, they're just going to altruistically go, oh, I'm going to be the painter I always wanted to be. They may go, I'm going to go fucking steal that bicycle because I got time to fucking do it.
But if you have... Okay. But you could also say that you go to McDonald's and that worker is going to be a lot more happy and will probably get your order right more often if they know that they're only doing this for, fun money. They're not doing this so that this is not one of 5 jobs that they're working just so that they can, live in a shitty apartment.
It's an interesting idea, but idle time does not make people better. It doesn't improve.
I'm not saying that people should just sit on their ass.
It might not make the situation better.
I'm not saying that people should, if you had like universal basic income, right? That, okay, now everybody can just sit around and do nothing. There would obviously need to be things that have to be done, and you would be rewarded way more. I don't know, you'd be greatly rewarded for the work you actually put in than now. I think people are always being undercut for what they do. The whole thing about like not paying a McDonald's worker $15 an hour is because an EMT calls a radio station and goes, I make $15 an hour and I think what I do is more important than what a burger flipper does. And it's like, that is true. You deserve more money for what you do. Mm-hmm. That is not the issue. They deserve to be able to not have to work 10 jobs to support themselves. Just like you should be able to make more money for what you do.
More money because you have skills.
Just like, whatever. Everybody should be making more than what they're actually making.
Right.
Except like sports.
If they would have adjusted for inflation, right? That's what we all hear. It seems that way to me. Yeah.
And that's the problem.
I always think that when people are bitching about the $15 an hour thing, it's like, no, let them make that and bump everyone else up.
Right.
I was making $20 an hour, bump me up to 30.
Right.
Fucking all right.
Right. I think also the problem is like they're doing something. Like they're being, they're not being paid what a living wage, and they want to, and so they're organizing and they're asking for it. Mm-hmm. You as an EMT could do the same thing, or
right.
whatever your job is.
Wants to do for themselves. They just want to criticize everybody else.
Right.
They're crabs in a bucket, baby. The fucking one gets to the top, and everyone's fucking bringing them back
It's
down.
like that. That's, I don't know. Like, it's such a weird thing because like you see that's how people react. Like that's their mindset, and so I do want to give people the benefit of the doubt and say, like, if we had universal basic income, and you still wanted to be an EMT, you'd be more passionate about it because you don't have to do that. You'd be more passionate about it, but you would also be, compensated for that a lot more because if somebody, or make the universal basic income something ridiculous, like whatever, $100,000 a year, like so that everybody's happy and you don't need to worry about things or whatever. I don't know. Come up with a system. We could figure out a system where it could work, but you could still have that if you do something outside of the normal everyday thing. You're compensated for it, and you can have something better than, you can have that mansion or you can have that yacht if you really need it, or just make those things less expensive. I don't know. Like, why? I don't know. It would be. I don't know if it's.
You're justifying universal basic income so that everyone can just have more of the shit that you just said was the problem with everyone anyway.
Well, I'm saying, like, if you have universal basic income, then you don't have to worry about living. Does that make sense? And then if you have a job, hopefully that job has greater purpose.
Most jobs don't, though.
That's true, but most jobs don't need a human to do it. It's just cheaper to have a human to undercut a human.
Well, they're gonna have a big problem once they decide, well, fuck it, we don't want all these people doing this. We'll just put the machine in there. They're gonna have to go to something.
At some point, we're gearing towards that anyway. So why don't we figure out the proper solution,
but if
instead of just dumping it?
I mean, yeah. Well, I don't know, but you see what I was saying there. Right?
No, I understand. No,
wealth of money. Then you just kind of built a structure so everyone could be richer.
I don't think that it's the perfect idea, but I think that's something that or get rid of money altogether, which is really crazy.
It's communism. It's not that crazy.
But get rid of, like, why do we have money in the first place? Why can't we go back to a barter system or something like that? Why do we have to because I feel like our mind is in the wrong spot. This is a
superior system. I mean, communism did not work. The Soviet Union from like 1917 to 1970 killed 60 million people in forced labor camps on the idea that, as a collective we'll all work, but they're just arresting people, putting them in these forced things for the good of all. No money, right? Everything belonged to the Socialist Party. All of this grain in this spot.
That's not what
money.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying to have a totalitarian government use a system incorrectly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
the system is incorrect. It's not using the system incorrectly. Making everyone equal and taking away someone's ability to do more than else.
The problem is that
problem with making
the problem with communism is the human element.
No. Yeah, exactly.
It's
the
not
fact
the
that
system,
humans want to strive.
right.
No, the system is fucked. No, the system is fucked.
In theory, the theory,
equal.
it's
not.
If it's in a vacuum, it works. But you add the human element, it doesn't work. The problem.
That's what everyone says. If I was Stalin, if I was the leader of that party, I would have done it right. That's what you're saying.
If I was Stalin, I would have done it the same exact way because I want to gain.
Look at that fucking schnoz on you.
Exactly.
Look at my fucking brows, motherfucker.
Exactly. Look at that. I look like Stalin. Anyway, but no, I would do it the same way. I'm saying that because at the end of the day, it was about his personal gain. It wasn't he was he took the system and
human nature.
Right.
Again, you're saying if we did it right, I will disagree with you strongly.
I'm not saying that there's one way to do it, but
not a viable way to.
I'm not saying communism.
People.
I'm not saying communism. I'm not saying that we need to have labor camps. I'm saying if you want to work. If you don't want to work, don't work.
So then how do we... So no money, though. So yeah, then you have to come up with a collective way to get everything to people for nothing. You know, you do that forced because if we all get our shit right, I'm going to be like, fuck, I'm not getting up at 6 to make the bread. I'll let one of the other 220 million people do that. And everyone does that. You know, because we already have everything we need. Am I going to go make bread for... I don't even eat bread. Fuck it. Why don't... You know? This is why it doesn't work. Because if you don't... If everything is taken care of you, why are you going to get up and do anything? I mean, that's a natural inclination. I'm lazier than most, so I know how it fucking works.
That's true. But those people
would
die.
You were saying, like... But everyone would die, or you get put into these situations, you know, where you're forced.
I think if you want to, it's like people who go into retirement, right? Those who stay active live longer. Those who retire don't live as long. And I feel like if you gave people, even if they're 20 years old, and you say, here, you've reached a certain culmination. Maybe
they die soon.
Maybe right. Because if you're, it's like the Einstein thing
anymore.
Right? The Einstein thing, like a body in motion stays in motion, like that kind of thing. They might die sooner, true, but which could happen. But maybe what we do is we educate people longer. Maybe we don't say 18 is the pinnacle, right? And then if
we all need to educate ourselves because I don't trust what the fuck they're trying to educate us with.
That's I agree, but maybe that's what you're doing till you're 30. Is you're educating yourself.
What's stopping you?
Time. You get out of school and now you have to
Rogan over here.
You get out of school and you gotta work.
But what I'm talking about is actually educate yourself in real life. Pick up a fucking book and get your nose in it.
I do.
And then when you try to talk,
I do, but I don't have as much time to really dive deep, and that's also the problem with our society right now is that we don't have time to dive deep into subjects, and so we take buzzwords and we take things.
I would agree with that.
Things like that.
You've heard the old adage, like I'm probably wrong, but I'm gonna say Tesla had like 8 fucking kids and a banker job, and he did what he did. So I'll just leave it at that. And that's,
but we don't all have the same drive as a Tesla.
That's the thing. We're all different, and
right.
Universal basic income would be
the idea is that we need to focus more on the archetypes of human beings and figure out, okay,
well, let's focus on being good people then. Why are we so hung up on this money thing? Everyone just work, be good fucking people.
Right.
You know?
But if we know that...
Because money is not amoral or... it's not moral or immoral on its own.
It makes people immoral.
That's a blanket statement.
I'm just saying. It makes people immoral. I mean, the people who are grabbing for it and are accumulating...
That's different.
Large amounts.
That's a group of people. So the snatchy, grabby piece of shit going for money they're already evil. You just said money makes people evil.
You might make a weird decision, an immoral decision. I might make an immoral decision in order to have...
Money had nothing to do with it.
It might just so that I have more money. I don't know.
That's you making yourself immoral. The money is an object. This pen is not a moral or immoral thing. Now, if I start writing the right stuff with it, maybe it could become something.
I forgot what the point I was going to make. But, yeah. What were we talking about?
Money, moral, somebody makes people evil, could make you make a bad decision.
before that.
Just about like how shit would be produced. If we had everything, I don't know. I think I think to get caught up on the money thing is like it's a.
Oh no! This is what I was trying to say. So like, we need to do more research scientifically as to how certain there you could probably place people in certain categories as to how they react to stimuli in the world. What people are good at. Are they tactile? Are they thinkers? Are they whatever? And mold those people from an early age, right? Find out what they are. Just listen. Find out what they are. And if you're really good at if you're showing interest in music, that you should be able to
Showing interest or have a biological talent and predisposition to be musical.
show interest.
This is a problem, man. You just said if they have a certain skill set, you just force them into it from an early age. How well do you think that's going to go? How well do you think? Do you think we would still be pursuing something?
But no, I'm not saying like, okay, if you're a tactile person, regardless of what it is, you like to do things with your hands or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but you can. What I'm saying is that as a teacher, I see so many kids who shouldn't be in school. They should be out in an auto shop or working with wood or doing something.
Exactly. No, I agree. Right.
And that's what I'm trying to say is like, let's not. That's what we're doing right now. We're forcing everybody to do X, Y, and Z. Go to college, do this, do that. That's not what it should be. And you can figure that out at an early age. Like, okay, Johnny is not going to college. That kind of thing.
And that's your decision, though. I mean, that's not right either. Like, what, we're going to have adults not related to the kid go, no, this kid, he's just not going to cut it. Like, I mean, what if the kid wants to be a fucking scientist? Oh, he's tactile, he's better at working on cars. Well, he doesn't want to work on cars. Like, we don't all like what the fuck we're good at. And for someone to just decide, nope, the course of this human being, he can't do it. No, he's a mechanic. He's a doctor. This kid's really smart. No, you can't play basketball. I know you're good at basketball, but you're a better doctor. No, you're a doctor.
That's not what I'm saying, though.
That is.
I'm not saying that we're gonna say pick a specific route. Saying you're smart, you're gonna be X. I'm saying you have
different education for the different skill sets people have. Yeah, well, that's common sense.
And then
there are trade schools, there are other things. There are unions, there are other avenues.
But they're very minuscule. And
such as life.
And the knowledge about those things don't really exist, because in an education world, you are like, think of now. I don't know if you pay attention, but Chicago public schools are forcing kids to either go to college or it's go to college, if I'm correct, because trade schools don't count and getting a job doesn't count.
Oh, you mean to get hired by them? What do you mean?
No, they will not release. They will not let you go graduate. You won't graduate from high school unless you're like either going to a community college or a four-year university.
Wow. Well, that's indentured servitude, isn't it? You're forcing people to incur a large amount of debt for a good period of their time. That's slavery.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not what we should be doing.
No, definitely.
But
not.
like,
we've already established that the government is not teaching kids what they need to be taught.
But what I'm not trying to say that a group of adults should tell a kid what they should do. But as a kid, did you know what you were good at? Unless somebody told you?
I think the whole thing is, finding that out on your own. Like, I wasn't good at anything because I was a kid, and that's like adolescence. You go through trying to acquire the skills that you deem are really important to you, the kind of person that's going to make you the person you want to be.
I feel like For you, yeah. Because I always saw you as somebody who worked really hard at everything. Right? And for me, it was sort of the opposite. I didn't work hard at everything because I didn't... Either things came naturally to me and I just didn't feel like playing sports. It just kind of just happened. But I remember when we would play with you, it would be like, I could see you're working. And I'm just like, kind of like, okay, whatever, or a throw, okay, I catch. And it's like, you're trying to get better at it. And I'm like, I can see that around this small group of people that I am advanced or whatever, and so I'm not going to work as hard. That kind of thing. But I always looked at you and I was like, fuck, if I could just be like you and actually like work hard and like with guitar, like I could play chords and do things, and then all of a sudden you just flew right by me. And it was like, okay, but I'm still better than half these people, so I'm okay with myself. I can still get by. You know what I'm saying? Like, and get by slightly better than a lot of people. But like for you, yeah, I can see like why you would say something like that. But for me, it's like it doesn't feel the same way. Does that make sense?
What was my initial statement?
I don't know anymore.
You just said that's why you would say something like that. I need to know what I said.
I totally forgot. I'm sorry.
What was the last thing we were talking about?
Because you're trying to find skills.
Like as a kid, yeah, I didn't have anything, but I was like, I feel like as a kid, you're always kind of envisioning the adult you'll become, or I was, and then adolescence kicks in, and you're like, or that's when it kicked in for me, 12, 13, you start to, I didn't want to play hockey anymore. That was a very young kid decision, and then I decided, no, I want to get a guitar instead. Then you pursue what you think, or what I pursued, what I thought would set me up better.
And I don't mind that.
The adult that I
like
would,
if we created a system, I don't mind that. Like, let me try this. No, that didn't work. Let me try
totally
that. That doesn't
you.
Work. But
I think our education is fucked up. They're not teaching. I heard that it was set up, like 19th century when factory condition. They were basically, the bells and the times and the way you sit is all just to train a factory worker. Basically, that's what I've read. You know, and it hasn't been updated.
Right.
So fucking dumb. Maybe not as dumb, but I mean, we weren't educated properly, and God, it's probably.
No,
I mean, it's probably it's on purpose.
Like
it's on purpose.
But if somebody could have like looked at me and said like, okay, this kid shows mastery. That's like a educational term, right? Shows mastery. That's a new buzzword. I was taking standardized tests, and I was, getting high school level scores, and they were constantly pushing me into gifted classes, and they wanted me to take the IB test and all stuff like that. I didn't want anything to do with that because that's not who I was.
Right.
Kelly, on the other hand, did all that and struggled. Like I remember having her having to go to math tutoring and all this stuff like that. But she wanted that, and I didn't want that. But I was definitely able to do it if it was brought to me and it's like, do it. I could do it. So, but I feel like if there was a better system that could have saw that and been like, pushed me into a different situation, or didn't punish me for the fact that I was capable of doing what you wanted me to do quicker than everybody else, and so I didn't want to do the busy work, so to speak, and be punished for not wanting to do busy work.
I do the homework. I never did it. I fucking, I scored well on tests. I was smart, but I was lazy and I didn't want to do anything. Fucking, why would I do all this dumb busy work? That's all it was. It was fucking hours a night of fucking wasting my life. I might have done well in college because maybe then I would have been like engaged, but
No, I don't think so. Honestly, I don't. I think there's this ideology that college somehow is this super stimulating thing,
That's
but
just what you hear.
Right.
I never went, so I wouldn't know.
But I think a lot of the time it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, there are a lot of ways to. I think the education system is just keeping the kids busy till 18, probably, right? So that right now they're trying to figure out what to do with 18 to 60, because machines are coming.
Right.
They don't need to fucking try 60 to fucking 3, you know. So this system will stay in place. They'll keep chugging out dummies. The fact that you don't get to graduate unless you fucking become an indentured servant afterwards is fucking ludicrous. Holy crap. I can't believe that's a real thing. I can't believe you can't get your high school diploma and then just decide what the hell you want to do. That is, wow. That is overreaching. I don't know if that's a term you would fucking
I think it is,
slap on it, but I mean, Jesus, what happened to just, everyone has a different route?
Well, that's
like
a
homogenous.
So as a teacher, like, every school gets a report card, and one of the parameters is how many of your students attend a 4-year university. That's what it has, right, for the last few years. And then they changed the report card because I feel like too many neighborhood high schools were scoring high enough to where they were on the same level as our selective enrollment high schools, Whitney Young, Lane Tech, Lincoln Park, Northside, Walter Payton. They're scoring too high, right? We can't have these neighborhood high schools at the same level or doing better than. So now it's retention of, are you still at a 4-year university? Because there are studies that show that a lot of valedictorians, even valedictorians of neighborhood high schools who did well all through school, whatever, they go to a 4-year university and they drop out within the first year. So now it's, they're creating these systems so that they keep these people down and these people up, and that's atrocious.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That is fucking crazy.
I think we're gonna have to call it.
Okay.
I gotta go.
That was a good one though.
Yep.
Bye everyone.
Bye.